She walked into a blind date with only $5 in her purse, humiliated when a man she trusted turned it into a cruel spectacle. But as the diners laughed and the manager pushed her out, someone stood up. Her billionaire employer. What happened next left the entire restaurant speechless and changed her life forever. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. Sophia's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She sat alone at a table covered with a fancy white cloth, in the middle of the fanciest restaurant she'd ever seen in her whole life. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. People around her wore clothes that probably cost more than her entire month's rent. Their laughter sounded like music, but to Sophia, it felt like they were all laughing at her. She shouldn't be here. She knew it, but her friend Rachel had promised, to meet her here for what Rachel called a surprise that will change your life. Rachel said she'd set Sophia up on a blind date with someone special, someone kind, someone who wouldn't care that Sophia worked as a cleaning lady for rich people. That was 2 hours ago. Sophia checked her phone for the 100th time. No messages, no calls, just a blank screen that made her stomach hurt. She called Rachel 17 times. Each call went straight to a cold, empty voicemail. 2 empty wine glasses sat on the table in front of her like silent judges. The waiter had brought them when she first arrived, assuming someone would join her soon. But no one came. The glasses just sat there, catching the light, reminding everyone who walked by that Sophia was alone. "Miss, will your party be arriving soon?" The waiter appeared beside her, his voice polite, but his eyes saying something else. Something that felt like pity mixed with annoyance. Sophia's cheeks burned hot. "Yes, very soon. Any minute now." The waiter nodded, but she could tell he didn't believe her. Why would he? She'd been sitting here for so long that her royal blue dress, the only fancy dress she owned, had wrinkles from nervous fidgeting. She opened her small purse and looked inside. $5. That was everything she had until next Friday when she got paid. 5 crumpled dollar bills that wouldn't even buy an appetizer in this place. Her heart hammered in her chest like a trapped bird. What am I going to do? The restaurant's golden door suddenly swung open and a man walked in. He was tall, wearing an expensive suit, and his shoes clicked on the marble floor like tiny hammers. His eyes scanned the room and landed right on Sophia. Her stomach dropped. This had to be him, the blind date. But something about his smile made her uncomfortable. It looked like the smile a cat gives a mouse. "You must be Sophia," he said, sliding into the chair across from her, without waiting for an answer. "I'm Tyler." "Hi," Sophia whispered, her voice barely there. "Have you heard from Rachel?" She was supposed to. "Rachel's not coming," Tyler interrupted, waving his hand like he was swatting away a fly. "That was the whole point. This is what we call a setup. A little test." Sophia's blood went cold. "A test?" "Yeah." Tyler leaned back in his chair, looking at her the way someone might look at a bug under a magnifying glass. "See, Rachel bet me $50 that I wouldn't go on a date with her cleaning lady. She said you'd be too embarrassed to even show up to a place like this. But look at you, you actually came." The words hit Sophia like punches. Each one hurt more than the last. I'm not just a cleaning lady," Sophia said quietly, her voice shaking. "I'm a person." Tyler laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the kind of laugh that makes you feel small and worthless. "Oh, come on. Don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke. But since you're here, we might as well eat, right? I mean, unless you can't afford it." Before Sophia could respond, Tyler snapped his fingers at the waiter. The sound echoed through the restaurant like a gunshot. Several people turned to look. "Excuse me," Tyler called out loudly. "Can we get some menus here? My guest looks hungry." The way he said guest made it sound like an insult. The waiter arrived with 2 leather-bound menus. Sophia's hands trembled as she opened hers. Her eyes blurred with tears as she looked at the prices. $35 for soup, $60 for pasta, $90 for steak. She couldn't breathe. "So," Tyler said, his voice dripping with fake sweetness, "what are you going to order?" Sophia closed the menu. "Actually, I think I should go." "Go." Tyler's eyebrows shot up. But we just got here. Unless... He paused dramatically, his voice getting louder so nearby tables could hear. Unless you can't pay for anything. Is that it? Did you come to a fancy restaurant with no money? Sophia's face burned so hot she thought it might catch fire. Whispers rippled through the restaurant like wind through grass. People were definitely staring now. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked disgusted. A few pulled out their phones, and Sophia's heart sank when she saw them pointing cameras in her direction. I have money, Sophia said, her voice barely a whisper. Really? Tyler's smile grew wider and meaner. How much? Sophia's hand shook as she reached into her purse. The $5 bills felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. She pulled them out and placed them on the white tablecloth. 5 wrinkled dollars. That's when Tyler did the cruelest thing of all. He threw his head back and laughed so loudly that the entire restaurant went quiet. Even the kitchen sound seemed to stop. $5, he shouted, pointing at the money like it was garbage. You came to Bellissimo with $5? Lady, you can't even buy the bread here with that. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. She wanted to disappear. She wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. She wanted to run, but her legs felt like stone. The restaurant manager appeared, a thin man with a tight face. Miss, I'm afraid if you cannot cover the minimum table charge, I'll have to ask you to leave. It's policy. Sophia stood up on shaking legs, her vision blurred with tears. The whole restaurant watched as she grabbed her $5 with trembling fingers. And that's when the front door opened again. This time, when Sophia looked up through her tears, she saw a face she recognized. A face that made her freeze in place. It was Mr. James, her employer, the billionaire whose mansion she cleaned every week. And he was walking straight toward her table. Mr. James moved through the restaurant, like a king walking through his castle. His dark suit fit perfectly. His shoes didn't click loudly like Tyler's. They whispered against the floor with quiet confidence. People turned to look at him, and Sophia could hear the whispers starting. Is that James Wellington? The billionaire? What's he doing here? That's the man who owns half the buildings downtown. Sophia wanted to melt into floor. This was worse than anything. Now her boss, the man who paid her to clean his toilets and dust his shelves, was going to see her being humiliated. He'd see that she couldn't even afford dinner. He'd see her crying like a baby in front of everyone. She tried to wipe her tears quickly, but they kept coming. Mr. James reached the table and stopped. His eyes swept over the scene. Sophia's tears, Tyler's mean smile, the $5 on the tablecloth, and the manager standing there with his arms crossed. Sophia, Mr. James said, his voice calm and warm like summer sunshine. I'm so sorry I'm late. Sophia's mouth fell open. Late? What was he talking about? Mr. James pulled out the chair next to her and sat down, completely ignoring Tyler. He picked up one of the empty wine glasses and examined it like it was the most interesting thing in the world. I got caught in a meeting that ran long, he continued, looking directly at Sophia with kind eyes. I hope you haven't been waiting too long. Sophia couldn't speak. Her brain felt like it had stopped working. Why was Mr. James pretending he was supposed to meet her here? Tyler's smug smile started to fade. Excuse me? Who are you? Mr. James finally looked at Tyler, and even though his face stayed calm, something in his eyes made Tyler shrink back in his chair. I'm James Wellington, he said simply. And you are... The color drained from Tyler's face. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. I'm Tyler. I'm Sophia's. We were on a... Rachel set us up. Rachel? Mr. James raised one eyebrow. The same Rachel who hasn't answered Sophia's calls all evening? That Rachel. Tyler swallowed hard. It was just a joke, man. Just a harmless prank. A prank. Mr. James said the word like it tasted bad. He turned to the manager, who now looked very uncomfortable. And you were about to throw out my guest because she is $5? The manager's face turned red. Sir, I didn't know she was with you. Our policy states... Your policy states a human being should be treated with dignity, Mr. James interrupted, his voice getting harder like steel. Or does your policy only apply to people who look wealthy? The entire restaurant had gone completely silent. Even the kitchen stopped making noise. Every single person was watching their table. Some had their phones out, recording everything. Mr. James stood up and raised his voice so everyone could hear. This young woman sitting here is Sophia Martinez. For 2 years, she has worked in my home. And in those 2 years, I have never met anyone more honest or more kind. Sophia's tears came harder now, but they were different tears. These ones didn't burn with shame. They felt warm, like relief. Mr. James continued, and his voice got even stronger. 3 months ago, I left my jacket on a chair. Inside that jacket was $3,000 in cash. I'd forgotten it was even there. Do you know what Sophia did when she found it? The restaurant waited. Even Tyler seemed frozen in place. She didn't take a single dollar. Not one. She found me immediately and returned every penny. She could have kept it. I would never have known. She could have changed her life with that money. But she didn't. Because Sophia Martinez has something that no amount of money can buy. Integrity. Sophia covered her face with her hands and sobbed. But these were good sobs. Happy sobs. For the first time all night, she didn't feel small. Mr. James sat back down and looked at Tyler with ice-cold eyes. Now let's talk about you. You brought this woman here as part of a bet. A cruel game to humiliate someone who works hard for every dollar she earns. You made her feel worthless because she's a cleaning lady. Tyler tried to speak, but Mr. James held up his hand. I want you to know something, Tyler. My mother was a cleaning lady. She scrubbed floors in office buildings to put me through school. She worked 3 jobs, came home exhausted every single night, and never once complained. People like you probably looked down on her too. Called her just a cleaning lady, like it was nothing. Mr. James leaned forward, and his voice dropped low and dangerous. My mother taught me that the measure of a person isn't how much money they have. It's how they treat people who can't do anything for them. And based on what I've seen tonight, you failed that test completely. Tyler's face had gone from white to red to white again. His hands trembled on the table. I didn't mean it was just supposed to be funny. Put your phone away. Mr. James said sharply. Tyler had been trying to secretly record everything. His hand jerked away from his phone, like it had burned him. Mr. James turned to the manager. I'd like to order dinner for Sophia and myself. We'll start with your roast chicken, the one with the herb butter and roasted vegetables. Simple, comforting, real food. The manager nodded so hard his head looked like it might fall off. Right away, Mr. Wellington. And please, dinner is on the house. I apologize for... No, Mr. James said firmly. I will pay every penny, and I'll leave a generous tip for the waiter who's been patient all evening. But I want you to change something here. Anything, sir. Stop judging people by how they look or what's in their wallet. The woman who walks in wearing cleaning clothes might be worth 10 of your customers in expensive suits. Treat everyone like they matter, because they do. The manager nodded, looking ashamed. Yes, sir, you're absolutely right. Mr. James turned back to Tyler, who was trying to slide out his chair and escape. Not so fast. Before you go, I think you owe Sophia an apology. A real one. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor, the same way Sophia had felt just minutes ago. His voice came out small and shaky. Sophia, I'm sorry. I was cruel and stupid and wrong. I'm really, really sorry. Sophia looked at Tyler's face and saw something she didn't expect. Real shame. Real regret. She took a deep breath and nodded. I forgive you. But don't ever treat anyone like that again. Tyler practically ran out of the restaurant, leaving his expensive jacket on the chair. As the noise of the restaurant slowly returned to normal, Mr. James reached across the table and gently pushed a glass of water toward Sophia. Drink this. Take your time. You're safe now. Sophia picked up the water with shaking hands and drank. The cold liquid felt good going down her tight throat. When she set the glass down, she finally found her voice. Why? She whispered. Why did you do that for me? Mr. James smiled, a real, warm smile that reached his eyes. Because, Sophia, dignity isn't something you buy. It's something you deserve just for being human. And nobody has the right to take that away from you. The waiter arrived with warm bread and butter. The smell made Sophia's stomach rumble, reminding her she hadn't eaten all day. Eat, Mr. James said gently. And while we eat, we're going to talk about your future. Sophia looked up, confused. My future? Yes. Tomorrow morning, I'd like you to come to my office instead of the house. There are some things we need to discuss. Important things that are going to change your life, but this time in a good way. For the first time that night, Sophia smiled. A real, genuine smile that felt like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. The roast chicken arrived on a white plate, so clean it sparkled under the lights. Steam rose from the golden brown skin, and the herbs smelled like Sophia's grandmother's kitchen, safe, warm, and full of love. Roasted carrots, potatoes, and green beans surrounded the chicken like colorful jewels. Sophia stared at the plate. It was the most beautiful meal she'd ever seen. Go ahead, Mr. James said softly. You haven't eaten today, have you? Sophia shook her head, feeling embarrassed again. But this embarrassment was different, softer, like Mr. James understood and didn't judge her for it. She picked up her fork and knife and cut into the chicken. The meat was so tender it fell apart. When she took the first bite, flavors exploded in her mouth. Butter, rosemary, garlic, and something else she couldn't name but tasted like comfort. She closed her eyes and felt tears coming again. It's okay to cry, Mr. James said. Sometimes good things make us cry just as much as bad things. Sophia nodded and wiped her eyes with a soft cloth napkin. I've never tasted anything this good in my whole life. Mr. James smiled and cut into his own chicken. My mother used to make roast chicken every Sunday. No matter how tired she was, no matter how much her back hurt from cleaning all week, she'd make Sunday dinner. She said food cooked with love tastes better than food cooked with fancy techniques. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Sophia noticed that people in the restaurant had stopped staring. Some even smiled at her as they walked past. The waiter refilled her water glass without making her feel bad about only drinking water. When Sophia had eaten half her plate, her stomach was full, but her heart wanted more. Mr. James set down a fork and looked at her seriously. Sophia, I meant what I said about talking tomorrow, but I don't want you to worry all night. So I'm going to tell you now what I've decided. Sophia's heart started beating fast again. Was she in trouble? Was he going to fire her for causing a scene in the restaurant? First, Mr. James said, I owe you an apology. Sophia's eyes went wide. What? No, you saved me. You don't owe me anything. Mr. James held up his hand gently. Please, let me finish. For 2 years, you've been working for me. You come 3 times a week, you clean my house perfectly, and you've never been late once. Not once. Do you know what I pay you per hour? Sophia nodded. $12. $12, Mr. James repeated, and he looked sad. That's not enough. Not nearly enough. I've been paying you minimum wage when you deserve so much more. I've watched you work, Sophia. You don't just clean, you care. You arrange my books so I can find them easier. You water my plants so they don't die when I forget. You even fix my favorite chair when the leg got wobbly, and you never ask for extra money. Sophia felt her cheeks getting warm. I just wanted to help. You're always kind to me. And that's exactly my point, Mr. James said. Kindness should be rewarded, not taken for granted. So here's what's going to happen. Starting immediately, your pay is going up to $25 per hour. Sophia gasped so loud that people at nearby tables looked over. $25? But that's more than double. That's what you're worth, Mr. James said firmly. And that's just the beginning. Second, I'm giving you back pay. For the last 2 years, I should have been paying you more. So I'm going to calculate the difference and give you a check for everything you should have earned. That comes to about $15,000. Sophia felt dizzy. $15,000? She'd never seen that much money in her entire life. Her hands started shaking again, but this time from shock, not fear. I can't, that's too much. I can't accept. She stammered. Yes, you can, and yes, you will, Mr. James said with a small smile. Because it's not a gift, Sophia. It's what you earned. It's your money. And third, this is the most important part, I'm going to pay for your education. Sophia's fork clattered onto her plate. My education? Mr. James nodded. I've noticed the books you read during your lunch breaks. Business management, accounting, hotel services. You're teaching yourself, aren't you? Trying to learn so you can have a better job someday. Sophia felt tears rolling down her cheeks again. She'd been so careful to hide those books, reading them quickly during her 30-minute lunch break, afraid Mr. James would think she was lazy or ungrateful for her cleaning job. I want to go to school, she whispered. I want to learn how to run a hotel or manage a restaurant. I want to be more than I want to be. You want to be everything you're capable of being, Mr. James finished for her. And you should. So here's my offer. I'll pay for you to attend the Riverside Community College. They have excellent programs in hospitality management and bookkeeping. You can study whatever you want. Hotel management, restaurant operations, accounting, all of it. I'll cover tuition, books, supplies, everything. Sophia couldn't speak. Her throat felt too tight. Like her heart was trying to climb up into her mouth. Mr. James continued, his voice gentle and sure. You'll keep working for me, but only 2 days a week instead of 3. That gives you time for classes. And on the days you do work, you'll get your new wage. When you graduate. Not if, when I'll help you find a position at one of the hotels I invest in. You'll start as an assistant manager, learning the business from the inside. Why? Sophia finally managed to choke out. Why are you doing all this for me? Mr. James was quiet for a moment. He looked down at his hands, and Sophia saw something in his face that looked like old sadness mixed with hope. When my mother died, he said softly, I was already successful. I had money, power, buildings with my name on them. But at her funeral, do you know who showed up? Hundreds of people, not business partners or wealthy friends. Cleaning ladies, security guards, cafeteria workers, all the people my mother had worked with over the years. Every single one of them had a story about how my mother had helped them, how she lent them money when they were short on rent, how she covered their shifts when their kids were sick, how she'd written recommendation letters so they could get better jobs. Mr. James looked up at Sophia, and his eyes were shiny with tears. He was trying not to cry. My mother spent her whole life helping people who couldn't help themselves. And when she died, I realized something. I'd spent so much time building my empire that I'd forgotten to build what actually matters. Connections with real people. Chances to help someone change their life. My mother did more good making $12 an hour than I'd done making millions. He reached across the table and gently put his hand over Sophia's. When you returned that $3,000, you reminded me of her. You had every reason to keep it. You have bills, you struggle, you work so hard for so little. But you chose honesty over money. That's rare, Sophia. That's precious. And I'll be damned if I let someone that good keep struggling when I have the power to help. Sophia was crying so hard now that she could barely breathe. But these tears felt like rain after a drought, washing away all the shame, all the fear, all the years of feeling small and worthless. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, Mr. James said, squeezing her hand gently before letting go. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me what my mother taught me. Thank you for being exactly who you are. And thank you for giving me the chance to do something that actually matters. They finished their meal slowly, talking about Sophia's dreams and plans. She wanted to run a small hotel someday. She told him. Something cozy and welcoming where families could stay and feel at home. Mr. James listened to every word like it was the most important thing he'd ever heard. When the check came, Mr. James paid it along with a tip that made the waiter's eyes go wide. As they stood to leave, several people in the restaurant started clapping. Sophia felt her face turn red, but Mr. James just smiled and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Hold your head high, he said. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Not tonight, not ever. They walked out of the restaurant together, into the cool night air. The city lights sparkled like stars had fallen from the sky and gotten stuck on buildings. Sophia, Mr. James said as they stood on the sidewalk, I want you to remember something. Tonight, Tyler tried to make you feel worthless because you had $5. But your worth was never in your wallet. It was in your heart. And hearts like yours, they're priceless. Sophia smiled through her tears. I'll remember. I promise. Good. My driver will take you home. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start building your future. As Sophia rode home in Mr. James's fancy car, leather seats softer than her bed, the city lights sliding past a window, she thought about everything that had happened. She'd gone from the worst night of her life to the best night in just a few hours. She pulled out her phone and looked at those 17 missed calls to Rachel. For a moment, she felt angry, but then she thought about what Mr. James had said about forgiveness, about choosing kindness even when people hurt you. She deleted Rachel's number, not out of anger, but out of growth. She was moving forward now, toward a bigger, better life. And she didn't need people who made her feel small. When Sophia got home to her tiny apartment, she didn't see the cracked walls or the leaking faucet or the neighbors fighting upstairs. She saw a starting place, a foundation, something she was going to build from. She thought about the chicken dinner, the way Mr. James had stood up for her, the way he'd seen her, really seen her, when everyone else just saw a cleaning lady with $5. And she thought about what she would do when she had her own hotel someday. She'd make sure every single employee was treated with respect. She'd pay them well. She'd help them grow. She remembered what it felt like to be judged for having only $5 and make sure nobody in her hotel ever felt that way. That night, Sophia fell asleep with a smile on her face and dreams of a future that finally felt possible. Because sometimes all it takes is one person who sees your worth. One person who stands up when everyone else is sitting down. One person who reminds you that dignity doesn't cost anything, and it's worth everything. The end. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best changes. Sometimes $5 teaches us lessons worth millions. And sometimes the people we think are above us are actually standing right beside us, waiting to lift us higher. What would you do if you saw someone being treated badly just because they didn't have much money? Would you walk away? Or would you stand up? The choice is always yours. Choose kindness. Choose courage. Choose to see people's hearts, not their wallets. Because dignity is priceless.